Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Time to take a look at the pens that I've got currently inked up, but they aren't in my daily rotation. Some of these pens I may not have written with for a few weeks, so it'll be interesting to see with them if they write straight off. If they don't write, what I'll be doing is putting them to one side to clean out. So we start with the Platinum Preppy, my sacrificial black inked pen. This has actually been inked up since the 11th of July. So it's had this ink for a while. That shows you how much black ink I really use. It's a medium nib, or a 0.5 nib, which is near enough a medium. So we've got here pen number 1, Platinum, and it's the Preppy. Really light pen, but I think it writes really nice. I'm going to put 0.5. The ink by Lamy. It's part of the Crystal series and it's Obsidian. And the pen, $8 Aussie. Now when you consider this hasn't been written with since I recorded December's version of this video, you know that's not going too bad, is it? So that's the Platinum Preppy. Next up, we've got another Japanese pen. This one's the Natami Inception. Beautiful sky blue colour. Really like this. It's very, very pretty. This one's a cartridge converter. The Preppy, I'd eyedroppered that. You can use a converter, you can use a cartridge. I just decided to eyedropper it because that's purely going to be for my black inks. So we've got the cartridge converter in here. Nice pen, bit light, bit on the thin side, but you know it's a fairly inexpensive pen. Doesn't really post, so that's the downside. So here we've got the Natami Inception. This is a fine nib, Japanese fine nib. The ink by Diamine, and it's Ordineo. This pen you're looking at 26 Aussie dollars, so not very overly priced, but certainly not cheap like the Preppy. I got this one from AliExpress, not sure if they're available anywhere else. So that's the Natami Inception. We're now going to jump over to China. The first pen is the Majohn M400. It's middle of summer here in Australia. Beautiful summery pen, this really does fetch summer to your mind. Cartridge converter. There we go. Not an overly great amount of ink in there. We've got that agitator. I think there's more agitator than ink left. So this may or may not write. And I think looking at that, I'm going to put this into the to clean pile. So this is the Majohn M400. You know, it writes really well. This is another one not actually been used for a month. And it writes straight off. Medium nib. You can certainly see wider than the previous two. The ink, we've got another Lamy one, and it's again part of the Crystal line, and it's Benu White. And this pen is 34 Aussie dollars. Do you think it is a very nice summer pen? Not sure if I might re-ink this or not, but this is now going over in the clean out pot. There we go, clink as it goes in. Next up, staying in China, we've got the Kailuo 316A. There's a Kailuo 316 which is slightly different. Mainly it's got black ends and a black section, where the 316A we've got the same resin going all the way through. This one, another cartridge converter, loads of ink in this one. I've recently inked this up for my green pen comparison video. There we've got that Kailuo nib. Very nice nib, very nice writer. So we've got here a Kailuo 316A. Medium nib. To me, this is more of a broad nib than a medium. The ink is by Pilot, and it's Iroshizuku Shinryoku. Price for this pen is 35 Aussie dollars. I do like this 316A. I say it's a very, very generous nib, and it's a nice nib to write with. So that's the Kailuo 316A. The next pen, very similar styling to that. It's by Majohn, and it's the Majohn M600S. So this is in more of a bluey colour, whereas the 316, that was a nice bright green colour. This reminds me a little bit of Stormy Nights, and that's why actually what led to the idea for the ink that's in here. Converter pen. This has got the black ends and it's got the black section. The nib on here is not the nib that came with it. It came with a fine Moonman nib. What I've got in here now is a Kailuo long knife or long blade nib. So a little bit like an architect type grind on there. So we've got here a Majohn. So this one's struggling to get going. This is the M600S. The nib seems to be catching a bit on the paper. So I'm going to put Kailuo long knife. The ink, so it's led really by the pen. It's Robert Oster. And it's Deep Sea. And the price for this pen, also 35 Aussie dollars. As you can see, some issues there with this. It's another one not been written with for a month. So it's going well. And I think what I maybe just need to do is just get it, maybe scribble a little bit, and that might fetch it out. But this is the Majohn or the Moonman M600. We're going to stay with Majohn, and we're going to go now to a P136. This is in the blue version, piston filling pen. The previous one, that was a converter. We've got here, it's hard to see, just here, there's like little tiny windows. So you can sort of see, very hard to see what the ink level is, especially if you've got a dark ink and a dark pen. It's got a Moonman nib on it. The nib on this is a fine. So it's a piston filler, not going to work that mechanism. It's another one, just doesn't post. So this is a Majohn P136 with a fine nib. This is beautiful, it's very nice. Width of the pen is just about right for my hand. The length of the pen, just about right for my hand. The ink is by Herbin, and it's Eclat de Saphir. I can never remember if there should be an E on the end. According to my notes, there should be. Price for this pen, 37 Aussie dollars. Very nice writer, nice pen. I say that about virtually every pen I've got there. I think there's not many pens I wouldn't say it's a nice pen. Up next, we're going for a small pen. We're going to Germany now. This is the Kaweco Sport. This is in the transparent white. I think it was called Coconut. What I've done with this one, it does come with a cartridge. You can get a little converter. They're very tiny, next to useless. What I've actually done is I've eyedroppered this. So the ink is directly there in the barrel. There's not that much ink left there. 1.1 stub nib on this. This pen, posted, is beautiful. Nice size. Still a bit on the thin side though, but it's a nice pen to write with. I love the stub nib on this. So we've got here a Kaweco Sport with a 1.1 stub nib. The ink is by Robert Oster, and it's Grun Gilt. Now I know there should be some little signs there, I'm just not sure where they go. 41 Aussie dollars. 14, it's 41. There we go, 41. I've got a number of sports, I enjoy them all. I do intend at some time to get some of the metal versions. I think there's aluminium versions, there's brass versions, there's the copper version I believe as well. So I do intend to get those eventually. But I really like the sports. Yes, they're light, but they just drop in your pocket. And when you post them, they're very nice to write with. So that was the Kaweco Sport. We're now going to look at one of my newer pens. I did an unboxing on this, a first impressions, earlier this month. This is the Kanwrite Heritage. I'm just going to move this paper up underneath it. This is in the green swirl, and this has got a double broad or an extra broad nib. Very nice. Again, this one's a piston filler. This is an Indian pen made in India. Got the piston window. You can see the ink sloshing about a bit. This has got here the Kanwrite extra broad or double broad nib. Nice pen in the hand. Sort of posts, I wouldn't risk it though. It feels like it's very loose and it feels like it's catching here on this mechanism. You don't want to accidentally trigger that, do you? So we've got here a Kanwrite Heritage. And it's an extra broad. I love the line we see from this pen. The ink is by Dominant Industry. And it's Lake. This pen, it costs 41 Aussie dollars. The downside with these Kanwrite pens is postage. Because it's coming from India, the postage is not cheap, so you pay for that. So what I've done is I bought a number of pens in one go, because it's virtually a flat fee for the postage. That made it not too bad. But if I hadn't have done that, the postage would have been more than the pen. So just be aware of that. So that's the Kanwrite Heritage. The next pen looks very similar. I'm going to show these side by side. Very, very similar. Some little differences. I'm going to fetch in another pen to show side by side with these, which is the Majohn M800. Three pens look very similar. I've just made a note there to actually do a comparison video between the three of these because I think they do look very similar. I just want to fetch that out to show you. So this is the Asvine P20. Again, it's a piston filling pen. Beautiful material here, isn't it? Very, very nice. We've got a piston window. It's not very big, but it seems to be nice and practical. It seems to work all right. Now, why I'm doing this, I'm trying to make sure I swirl this ink around a bit because the ink in here, there should be, I can never remember if it's either a chameleon or a shimmer. To me, they both look very similar. The material, it carries on down there into the section. Again, very nice pen to hold. The nib, here we've got there, this is the nib that comes with it, and this one's a medium. So we've got an Asvine P20 with a medium nib. The ink, Diamine Glacier. Just going to do a little thing there, see if we can see any of that shimmer come through. The price for this pen is 44 Aussie dollars. So very similar price-wise to that Kanwrite. I do think this looks nice. I like the Kanwrite as well. I think they're both pretty looking. Now, let's take a closer look at this ink. Yeah, we can see there loads of that. In fact, it might even be the Starbright. I just can't remember. I'll have to get the bottle out to check it. But look at that. Absolutely covered there in silver. Hopefully, the camera's picking it up. I'm certainly seeing it with my eye. So our next pen, we're going to go back to Majohn. This is the Majohn P135. This is very heavily inspired by, I believe it's the Mont Blanc Le Petit Prince. Might be wrong with the manufacturer there. Heavy pen, bit of a weight to this one. It's actually a little bit on the short side and it feels very thin. You can post it, but with that cap on, it's just too way heavy, so I don't post it. So we've got here Majohn P135. And this has got a fine nib. This is another one, cartridge converter there. I should have shown you that earlier. The ink in here is by Robert Oster. And it's Velvet Crush. I think this is a nice ink, a good match for the pen. This pen, it's 45 Aussie dollars. Really like this, quite enjoy this pen. Sticking with Majohn once again, we've got the Majohn M1000. So bigger pen, wood pen, heavy pen. Heaviest of all the pens we've looked at so far. You can really feel this in the hand. I love this wood. It's so nice. It's so tactile. When I've got this out, you just want to feel it. You want to rub your hand up and down that wood. Or certainly I do. Maybe I'm just weird. Another cartridge converter there. Let's pop this back together. Metal section doesn't feel overly slippy. There's a little lip at the bottom as well. On here we've got the Majohn nib. This is a medium Majohn nib. So this is the Majohn M1000 with a medium nib. The ink, Robert Oster. And it's Honeybee. And this pen is 54 Aussie dollars. I think this Honeybee is a good match for this wood. It's nice and light. We see some nice shading coming through with this. Very enjoyable. It's a pen I need to use more. I don't know why I don't get it out more often, because I enjoy the feel of it. I enjoy the look of it. I enjoy the ink that's in it. So that's the Majohn M1000. So the last of the pens that are under 100 Aussie dollars. We are taking a jump in price now. We're going up to the Narwhal Schuylkill. This is in Poor Peter Navy. Piston filling pen. Narwhal is a US company, but the pens, they're made in China. The nib on here is a Narwhal nib. It's a medium nib. We've got an ink window. Again, not very big, just about usable though. And then that section still got that same resin. Nice pen. I find this really enjoyable to use. I've got a few of these. Enjoy using all of them. So there is the Narwhal. No, I want to write the old name for a second. Narwhal Schuylkill with a medium nib. The ink by Diamine, and it's Ruby Blues. So this is a sheening ink. Just going to give a little bit of a scribble there. Price wise, we're looking at 92 Aussie dollars. I say these are nice pens, seem to be very good quality to me. Had no issues with them. They're just right and right and right. One of my other ones, I've swapped the nib. It's a number 6 nib, easy to swap. So one of the other ones, I've got a, I think it's a Yoho broad. It might be a bottle broad. Let's take a look at the ink. Hopefully you can see there. Certainly, again, to my eye, I can see the red and the blue on there. So it's a blue ink with a gorgeous red sheen coming through. We're going to jump up now, and we're going to look at pens over 100 Aussie dollars. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. The first pen is the Hulk, the big boy. This is the Ranga Model 5 in green stripe. Although it says green stripe, to me it's more of like a tealy colour, but that might be just the way I interpret the colours. Big pen. I want to show you one of my other pens just so you've got a rough idea. One of my standards, Lamy Safari. Look how big it is. Let's take the caps off. It's a chonker of a pen, and I've got to be honest, it's one of my most comfortable pens to write with. So this one, I have a cartridge converter in it. Comes with a cartridge converter. You could eyedropper this if you want. I never intend to, because if I did, the amount of capacity this would have, it would just keep going and going and going. The nib on here is a Ranga nib. There we are. There's a steel Ranga nib there. They do a mass of choices there. You can get a Yoho nib, you get a Bock nib, you get titanium. I think they do gold. They do all sorts of different nibs. One thing I will say with this, I've had this about 2 years. I still get a smell to it, so it's still got a little bit of a scent to it. I don't actually find it unpleasant though. So we've got a Ranga Model 5 with a broad nib. The ink, Robert Oster, Ride Green. Price for this pen, 142 Aussie dollars. One of the issues I have with this pen is filling it, because this section, very wide, as you can see in my hand, doesn't fit in a lot of bottles. So you've got to either use something like an ink miser, or you've got to fill with a blunt nose syringe, or have a bottle with a wide entry so you can actually get it into the bottle. So that's the Ranga Model 5. That's a big pen. The next pen isn't actually that much shorter. This is a handmade pen, handmade here in Australia. This is that Pen Bloke fountain pen. And this material is one he makes himself. Beautiful colours in here. Absolutely gorgeous pen. I will be honest, I absolutely love my handmade pens. Got a Schmidt converter in there. Again, possible. It's all resin. If you wanted to, you may want to eyedropper it. I certainly don't intend to. You know, I'm just quite happy using the converter. Nice lengthy section. Comes with this one with a Yoho nib. Again, he's got a variety of nibs. So this is I'm just going to call it That Pen Bloke, because the model, he just calls it a fountain pen. We've got a broad nib on here. The ink by Diamine, Weeping Willow. Beautiful ink that I see loads of shading on. Price wise, 190 Aussie dollars. Handmade pen, well worth it. Beautiful pen, beautiful ink. From Australia, we're going to jump over to the US. Here we've got a Conklin All American. This is another one. I think it's actually made in China, even though Conklin is based in the US. Cartridge converter. There we go. I had issues with the converter that came with it. Fortunately, I've got another All-American, so I just swapped the converters. The previous converter was leaking, so I was ending up with ink. As you can see, it's still got the stains from that. What I'm going to do when this is empty is I'm going to try putting this through my ultrasonic cleaner, give it a very, very good deep clean. Broad Yoho nib on there. So we've got the Conklin All-American. Broad nib. Have you noticed I seem to have a thing about broad nibs, don't I? So the ink, Diamine, Appletini. Price wise, 194 Aussie dollars. Now, I've heard lots of comments about people saying about the quality of Conklin pens. I've got 3 Conklin pens. This is the only one that seems to write perfectly. The other 2, both have got issues. One of them very minor, and I can live with. The other one very major, and I never use the pen because of that. So, yeah, a little bit hit and miss with the quality, but this one, superb. From some big pens, we're going to go to a small pen. From Japan, this is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. This is in blue-green nebula. Hopefully you can see the silver specks in that. This is what really interests me with this. You know, got them silver specks. Converter in there. Say it's a small pen, it's a thin pen, not quite pocket size, but getting towards that. Unposted, I find it very hard to use. Posted, perfect. This nib here, the Sailor nib, 14 karat gold. I will be honest, one of my favourite nibs. Sailor, oh, it's so beautiful, the feedback on this. Pro Gear Slim. Guess what? It's a broad nib. And the ink in here by Diamine. And it's Aurora Borealis. Price wise, 224 Aussie dollars. On one of my recent videos which had this pen in it, someone has suggested maybe even trying a red ink or an orange ink. So I may try something like Red Dragon, but at the moment we've got quite a lot of ink in there, so it won't be for a while. But beautiful pen, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. Next up, the Benu Talisman in Dragon's Blood. Again, glorious colours in there. This is one I'm twirling around and trying to mix up a little bit, mainly because the ink in here has got a shimmer in it. I want to give it the best chance when I do the writing to come out. I love the hexagons on the body, so it doesn't roll as easy as what you expect. You know, a lot of the problems with round pens, they roll very easy. There's a converter, not a lot of ink left in there. Plastic fitting, so I'm not sure if I'd want to even think about eyedropper in it. It's something maybe, but certainly I don't intend to, but it's nice to have options. Black section comes down to this Schmidt nib. I always have to be careful how I pronounce that, because this Schmidt nib is a glorious nib. Again, I think I say this about a lot of them. I love using this. So we've got here a Benu Talisman. Can you guess what the nib is? It's broad. The ink is Diamine. Best wishes. Yeah, let me just scribble, see if we can get any of that ink property to show up. Price for this pen, 230 Aussie dollars. Very nice pen. The only Benu that I have, I do want to get some more. The problem is they're just too sparkly for me. You know, this one's fine because I use this as a Christmas pen. So normally it's in my December rotation. The rest of the year, to be honest, it either sits unused or it might be filled and I'll just use it at home. So that's the Benu Talisman. The final pen, my latest pen. This is a Pens by Casey, and the model is Mokuzai, and it's the 13. This is made of Northern York burlwood, which is a type of eucalypt, I believe. Beautiful pen, handmade pen. I've said already, I love handmade pens. This is such a good pen, such a nice pen as well. Ebonite fittings, ebonite linings, Schmidt K5 converter. Yoho nib. He does do some different nibs now. He now does Mr. Cypress nibs as well. He's experimenting with them. Well worth getting in touch with Casey. Now, I will give a price for this pen, but his pens all vary in price depending on material, size, shape, how you want it. So get in contact with him. He is contactable via Instagram, Pens by Casey. Beautiful, gorgeous pen. So we've got here a Pens by Casey. This one, I say, is the Mokuzai 13. It's got a 1.1 nib. Beautiful nib. Ink is Robert Oster. And I'm running out of space. I'm going to go on the next line. It's called Aussie Brown. Australian ink, Australian named ink, Australian made pen, Australian wood. You know, who could want more? Now, the price, as I say, they vary. But this one, you're looking at 400 Aussie dollars. Not cheap, but worth every cent. It's handmade. The quality is amazing. He does awesome customer service. If there's an issue, he'll follow up with you. He'll work with you to get it sorted. Such a really nice pen, really is. So that's the Pens by Casey pen. So they are my pens that I've got inked up this month. Can I get them all there in the camera at once? Not quite. Maybe, yeah, just about. So quite a few this month. Hopefully I'll reduce that next month because next month is a Use Me Up month. What pens have you got inked up this month? Have you got any favourite pens? Have you got any favourite inks? Why not drop a comment down below? Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, Every time you comment just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.